Welcome to part two of Justin Baldoni's October 6th deposition. I want to come back to your use of Signal. Uh-huh. Uh, I think you testified earlier this morning that you had never used Signal before Blake's complaint was filed in December of 2024. Am I getting that correct? I had the app, but I wasn't a participant, like doing anything on the app. Do you recall when you downloaded the app? I recall two different times that I had downloaded the app. The first time I ever heard of Signal was from Stephanie Jones, and I don't know how long ago that was. I feel like I closed my eyes sometimes because I visualize, so I understand where I am. I believe it was I think it was around 2020. She had told me that was her preferred method of communication, but we never communicated on Signal. And then, and then I think your phone just gets rid of it when you don't use it, and then I downloaded it again. I joined a men's group and they had their group on Signal, but then I was unable to join officially the men's group, so I never joined that group on Signal. So it was just kind of an app that was there. And then I downloaded it probably the day after or 2 days after the New York Times article and the lawsuit. When you downloaded it a day or two after the New York Times article and the lawsuit, why did you do that? I believe it was a group decision to move all of our chats to Signal. Who was in that group that made that group decision? My attorneys, I believe all the defendants here. Melissa Nathan? Yes. Jen Abel? Yes. Jamie Heath? Yes. Steve Sarowitz? I think he eventually joined, yes. But not at first. Steve is always in his own world. Jed Wallace? Yes. Yes, eventually yes. But not at first. I had never met Jed, so I don't know if he was originally on there. At the time, you knew who he was? I knew who he was. I had heard the name Jed, but I learned who he was around the time of the lawsuit. Yeah. What do you mean you learned who he was? Miss Shapiro around the time of the lawsuit. Miss Shapiro, Mr. Baldoni, don't reveal any information that you learned from your attorneys. Justin, I learned his last name and that he was being sued, and that's when we met. Shaw, when you say that's when you met, what do you mean? That's the first time we ever met. In person? No, we never met in person. So when you say that's the first time you ever met, do you mean that's the first time you were ever on a direct communication with him? Yeah. Prior to that point in time, do you recall being on any communications, whether phone call, in-person meeting, signal, text, email, or any other form of communication where Jed Wallace was also a participant that you were on? No. Before that time, do you recall ever hearing his name before? Ms. Shapiro, objection. Shaw, whether orally on a phone call, in a text message, in an email, or through any other form of communication? Shapiro, objection. Justin, yes. Shaw, when? I believe around the time that after I met Melissa Nathan. Melissa Nathan introduced you to Jed Wallace, is that right? I was never introduced to Jed Wallace. Melissa Nathan is the first person who ever mentioned the name Jed Wallace to you. Is that right? No, I don't believe so. Who is? I think it was Jamie. I think Jamie, yes. What do you recall about the instance where Jamie first mentioned the name Jed Wallace to you? I recall a brief conversation around Melissa's employees, and it was around that same conversation. I think I heard the name Brianna and Jed, like they were part of a team or something. Was it your understanding around that time of the conversation that Jed was one of Melissa's employees or associated with Melissa's work? Glover, objection form. Justin, I don't think I had an understanding. I think I wasn't thinking about anything like that. Shaw, why were you not thinking about anything like that? I wasn't thinking about who was an employee or an associate. It was just, this is a team. And it was your understanding around the time of that conversation that as part of the team that was being brought on to help you with crisis comms, Jed Wallace would be part of that team, right? Yes. And you gained that understanding at least at first from Jamie Heath, is that right? I believe so, yes. And your understanding around the time of that conversation was that Jed Wallace was going to come as part of the crisis communication team to handle the social and digital side of things, right? Glover, objection, form. Shapiro, objection. Justin, I'm not sure I was aware of that. I was just hiring crisis PR. Shaw, and you had no awareness or understanding of what Jed did or was to do for you in the realm of crisis PR? I still don't think I know what Jed does. Why do you say that? I like to think of myself as someone who is tech savvy or who understands the internet, but I don't. I guess I still don't think I really have ever grasped what he does. And that's because what he does with respect to the internet is highly technical and complicated, right? Glover, objection, form. Justin, maybe. Shaw, What is it that you don't grasp about what he does with the internet? I know him to be someone that sends a lot of reports, like a lot of reports. So, what kind of reports? Like somebody who spends a lot of time on the internet Googling and looking up anything that is involved with this case or my name, and then presenting those reports and saying, this is what is happening. What's so complicated about that? Shapiro, objection. Justin, well, I don't know if that's what his job is. Is that's what I don't understand. Shaw, how many of those such reports has he ever sent to you? Shapiro, objection. Justin, I think that's privileged. Shaw, did he always ever send those reports to you at the same time as he sent them to your attorneys? I've never gotten an individual report, no. So why do you know him as someone who sends reports? Shapiro, instruct you not to. Justin, yeah, I can't answer that. Shapiro, answer to the extent that the answer comes from communications with your attorneys. Shaw, did you come to the understanding that Jed Wallace sends these such reports before Blake's lawsuit was filed on December 20th? No. You had hired Jed Wallace to be part of your crisis comms team in August of 2024? Shapiro, objection. Glover, objection form. Justin, I didn't hire Jed Wallace. Shaw, who did? Shapiro, objection. Justin, I assume. Shapiro, don't assume anything. Justin, Wayfarer. Shaw, you understood Jed Wallace to be working at least in part on your behalf with Melissa Nathan's team during this crisis period in August of 2024, right? Glover, objection form. Shapiro, objection. Justin, I don't know if I understood that. Shaw, what did you understand him to be doing in that time period? Shapiro, objection. Justin, I don't know. Whatever. Glover, objection form. Shapiro, and I direct you not to answer to the extent any information you have only comes from your attorneys. Justin, I don't know. Shaw, you don't know one way or another whether Jed only started creating these reports in December of 2024 or whether he had been creating them earlier? Glover, objection. Shapiro, objection. And again, don't reveal any privileged communications of anything you learned from your lawyers. Justin, I genuinely don't know. Shaw, you mentioned earlier that when you started using Signal to communicate after the lawsuits were filed, it was a group decision that involved a number of people and your attorneys. Yes. Which attorneys? Am I allowed to answer attorneys? Shapiro, yeah, no, I'm going to direct you not to answer that question. Shaw, you're going to direct him not to give me the names of which attorneys were involved in the Signal chats? Shapiro, that's not what you asked. You were asking him about his discussions with his attorneys about using Signal. Shaw, who were the attorneys that were involved in the Signal chats? Shapiro, you can answer the names. Justin, Brian Friedman, you can totally get it. It's okay. Brian, Summer, Mitra, Jason, Teresa, Alexandria, and Jonathan weren't on the team? Yeah. Shaw, whose idea was it to move your communications to Signal? I don't remember. Was it yours? I don't know. Is it possible that it was your idea? Shapiro, objection. Justin, yeah. Shaw, did you understand the purpose of moving these communications to Signal to be that the messages would disappear? I understood that to be part of it, yeah. What was the other part of it? Getting hacked? You had concerns about your phones being hacked? Yeah. Okay. Privacy. In the time starting when the lawsuits were filed in December 2024 that you began using Signal with this group of people that you've described, in every single message that you sent or received, was there at least one attorney present on the message thread? Shapiro, objection, form. Justin, I'm sorry, it was a long question. Shaw, since you began using Signal from the time these lawsuits were filed, was there an attorney present on every single message that you sent or received? Was an attorney present in every message I sent? No, because there were friends that reached out to me on Signal too. Which friends? That friend's still trying to get me. Justin, is your son okay? The stenographer reporter, sorry, yeah, he's fine, these are brand new iPads, I apologize. Shaw, it's all right, let us know if you want to take a break. Stenographer reporter, okay. Shapiro, what was the question? Shaw, which friends? Justin, which friends texted me on Signal? Uh-huh. I remember my friend Brett texted me, my friend John. I wasn't responding to very many texts during that time. Ahmed? The stenographer reporter, sorry, Ahmed? Justin, Ahmed, sorry, I lost my voice this weekend. Stenographer reporter, that's okay. Justin, those are the three I can think about that are not in the lawsuit right now, a friend specific to your question. Shaw, anyone else? Mitz from Wayfarer, and can you repeat the question one more time? Who can you recall, whether friends or otherwise, who texted you on Signal that was not part of your defendants and attorneys group? That's what I can think of right now. If more come to me later, I will share, but they were not. When friends texted me, it was not about the lawsuit. They were just texting me. Were they in the habit of texting you on Signal before this? No. So they only started texting you on Signal after the lawsuits were filed? Yes. And they were texting to check in on how you were doing in the wake of the lawsuits being filed? Shapiro, objection. Justin, yes. Shaw, did you respond to any of those texts? I'm sure I did. I'd asked them to text only on Signal. You had asked them to text only on Signal? Had they texted you by a non-Signal method ahead of that? They had called. I was really not in a good place. I didn't want to talk. Do you have your cell phone on you right now? I don't. Do you have your cell phone in the back room? It's in a bag somewhere, probably. Do you always set your Signal messages to auto-delete? I set them to whatever the Signal auto thing is. Are you aware that when message threads originate on the Signal app, they do not self-delete and you have to go in and for each method, each message thread, if you want it to delete in a certain amount of time, you have to go in and change that setting? Shapiro, objection. Justin, I thought it was the opposite, but now I know. Shaw said, I could be mistaken. Yeah, I thought it starts auto-delete and then you have to stop it from. But you could be right and I could be wrong. Do all of your Signal message threads auto-delete? No. There are some that do not auto-delete. I believe if I'm allowed to say, none of our legal threads auto-delete. Any of the non-legal threads that do not auto-delete? Shapiro, objection. Justin, I'm sure there are some. Shaw, have you manually deleted any Signal messages since these lawsuits were filed? No. During a break in this deposition, can you look at your phone, open your Signal app, and see whether there are any non-legal Signal threads still present on there? Shapiro, I'm going to object to that. I'm going to object to that. Shaw, you're going to instruct him not to do that? Shapiro, yes. Shaw, okay. Would you be capable of doing that if not for your lawyer's instruction? I would hope so, with my hands and fingers and brain capacity. Are you going to follow your lawyer's instruction? I think I probably should. What do you recall texting with Mitz at Wayfair about on Signal? This whole time period was crazy, so give me a second. I believe I was sending Mitz screenshots of a lot of old text messages. Which old text messages? Things that I believed would help me in telling the truth about what actually happened. Text messages with Blake? No. Text messages with Stephanie Jones? I don't believe I shared any of those with Mitz, no. Text messages with Jen Abel? No. Text messages with Melissa Nathan? I didn't have any text messages with Melissa Nathan. Text messages with whom then? My memory, text messages with my health coach, text messages with Don Saladino. Who is your health coach? Jennifer Benson. What does she generally do for you? She's not my current health coach. What should she generally do for you when she was your health coach? She tried to keep me healthy. How? Supplements, peptides, helping my immune system. What about your text messages with your health coach did you believe at that time would help you explain the truth of what happened? If my memory's correct, I was being accused of many things, but one of them was like putting Miss Lively on a phone call with a dietitian, which was a lie and an extreme distortion of the truth. Who is Dan Saladino? He's a personal trainer. Is he Miss Lively's personal trainer? I would assume so. And what about your text messages with him did you believe at that time would help you demonstrate the truth of what had happened? The communication between him and myself that showed that he was also working with me? How many screenshots do you recall sending to Mitz? I wish I could tell you. I don't know. More than 2? Yeah. More than 5? Probably. More than 10? That was a very hard time. I will say yes. More than 15? I don't know. More than 20? I don't know. I want to help you. I genuinely don't know. It's possible it was more than 20? Shapiro, objection. Justin, that feels like a lot. I don't know. Shaw, is it possible it was more than 50? Shapiro, objection. Justin, I would be very surprised. That's a lot. Shaw, does your Signal thread with Mitz auto-delete? I don't know. I'm not sure. Have you gone back since this litigation started to look at it to see if it's still there? No. Can you do that during a break? Shapiro, objection. Shaw, are you going to instruct him not to do that? Shapiro, yes, I am. Shaw, are you going to follow your counsel's instruction? I think I am. Are you capable of doing it if not for your counsel's instruction? I would like to think I am. Other than text with your health coach and text with Dan Soladino, do you recall sending to Mitz screenshots of texts involving anyone else? Not that I can think of. Do you recall sending to Mitch texts of screenshots that had anything to do with Stephanie Jones or Jonesworks or the work that you did with Stephanie Jones or Jonesworks? Shapiro, objection. Justin, there was very little conversation about Stephanie Jones at all during this time. Shaw, why is that? Because I don't think she was top of mind. You said that you had either joined or tried to join a men's group that had a Signal group chat. Is that right? Yes. What was that men's group? It was a group put on by a man named John Wineland. And I wasn't able to commit to the men's group, and commitment is a huge part of men's work. So they had added me to the chat, but then I let him know I wasn't able to commit. So then I was not a part of it. Why were you unable to commit? I was making a movie. What movie? It Ends With Us. You said commitment is a huge part of men's work. What do you mean by that? Men's work is based on agreements, and in order to feel vulnerable enough to show any parts of yourself that over the years you would be embarrassed or ashamed with, or to feel truly vulnerable so that you can do work and be with other men in a sacred space, there are agreements that have to be made beforehand, like commitment to show up on time, commitment to, not miss the meetings, commitment that you're able to actually attend the in-person retreat, because those agreements create safety. Had you ever done men's work in the past? Yes. How many times? I think it could be considered the sum of my daily practice is men's work, so I don't think I can give you a number. Over how many years? My 30s. What is the purpose of the men's work you do? If I were to distill it, it would to attempt to be an open, kind man. Do you think men need to work on that in order to become that way? I think every human does. Then why is it called men's work and not people work? Because I believe I'm not the one who invented or created men's work, but I can give you my opinion if that's okay. Please. I believe that men have to do work with men. I think the integration with men and women is more than likely very tricky. And I think that women do a lot of work with women. And I think that both men and women need safe spaces for healing. Healing what? How much time do you have? Give me the 35-second answer. Healing what collectively? Healing what do men and women need to heal from? Sure. Millennia of trauma abuse, generations and generations of trauma that's been passed down from our families and parents, and interpersonal relationship trauma. I'm assuming that was 35 seconds. Do you have a practice of taking handwritten notes? Shapiro, objection. Justin, at times. Shaw, describe that to me. I've always struggled in school, and sometimes when I'm listening to something I need to write down. Sometimes it helps me remember. Do you carry a notebook dedicated to your handwritten notes? Sometimes. Do you carry it everywhere you go? No. You only carry it sometimes? I don't have just one. I'm not like a journalist note taker that's always walking around with it. No. Did you take handwritten notes in connection with your work on the film It Ends With Us? There were a few days that I did, yes. Only a few days? Yes. Did you take handwritten notes in connection with any of the publicity or other work you did with Jonesworks or Stephanie Jones or Jen Apel while she was at Jonesworks? No. Have you brought a notebook to take handwritten notes to these depositions? Yes. Which depositions? Blake Lively and Steve Sarowitz the other day. Any others? No. Did you take handwritten notes during those depositions? Yes, but for my lawyer. Only for your lawyer? For both of us. Only for you and your lawyer? Yeah, I don't know who else it would be for. Do you still have those handwritten notes? I believe I do. Did you take any handwritten notes in preparation for your deposition? Shapiro, objection. I direct you not to answer. It's on the record. Justin, what is that? Shapiro, I direct you not to answer. Justin, I'm directed not to answer. Shaw, can he answer a yes or no question? Did he take any handwritten notes in preparation for this deposition? Yes or no? Shapiro, yes. Justin, yes. Shaw, how many pages? Shapiro, I'm going to object to this. This is work product. Shaw, are you instructing him not to answer? Shapiro, yes, I am. Shaw, do you still have those handwritten notes? Shapiro, objection. Justin, they were shared with my attorney. Shaw, so you're saying your attorney has a copy of the handwritten notes? Shapiro, objection. I direct you not to answer these questions. Shaw, my question was, do you still have the handwritten notes? Yes or no? Shapiro, you can answer that yes or no. Justin, yes. Shaw, okay, do you keep a diary? I wish I did. God, I wish I did. Is that a no? It's a no. I've wanted to, but do you have a practice of writing daily affirmations? Shapiro, objection. Justin, sometimes yes. Shaw, do you write daily affirmations? Currently, no. Have you in the past? Yes. Have you in the past year? Possibly. Have you in the past 3 years? Yes. Do any of those daily affirmations bear on or relate to anything having to do with your work in connection with the film It Ends With Us or any publicity work? Shapiro, objection. Justin, not unless me saying I am confident and brave and strong. And I mean, if you think that it's like those kinds of affirmation, yes. Shaw, when did you first meet Stephanie Jones? I don't remember the year, but 2018, 2019, 2017. It's one of those years. Do you remember when you first started working with Stephanie Jones or Jones Works? I remember the feeling. Are you asking me, do I remember the day, like the dates or the year or yes, do you remember when in time? As I sit here, I can't remember the year or when in time. Did you meet Stephanie Jones long in time before you started working with her as a publicist? I believe I was introduced to her and we had a phone call, but I don't know how long after that we started working together. Was it years after the phone call? Uh-huh. I wish I could answer. I don't know exactly. Where were you in your career when you started working with Stephanie Jones as a publicist? I was on a TV show called Jane the Virgin. Had you had a publicist before that? Yes. Who was that? I had a few. Oh gosh, the name Sunshine rings a bell, or Sun. My first publicist name was Siri before phones. I had a few. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I don't remember the names of the organizations. Why did you switch to Stephanie Jones as your publicist when you began working with her? I heard she was amazing. Who did you hear that from? The person who introduced us says she had a lot of really great clients. And you began working with Stephanie Jones as a publicist in your personal capacity at first, right? Yes. As an actor, yes. Then at some time thereafter, she began working also with Wayfarer Studios. Is that right? When Wayfarer Studios was formed, I was already a client of Stephanie Jones as an actor. Uh-huh. And then after Wayfarer Studios was formed, then the company, I believe, started to work with the company. Yeah. Okay, and after Wayfarer Studios was formed, Stephanie Jones worked as a publicist both for Wayfarer Studios and for your personal publicity moving forward, right? The company did. Yeah. The company being Jones Works. Jones Works, yeah. Okay. Did you feel at that time when you began working with Stephanie Jones, were you happy with her work? Shapiro, objection. Justin, can you be more specific? Shaw, do you feel she was supportive of your career? Yeah, yeah. Do you think she did good work for you as a publicist? Stephanie was never my personal publicist, so that's hard for me to answer, but I was happy overall with what the company was doing for me. How many times over the years would you say you communicated directly with Stephanie? Over the years, like from the time you started working with her to the time you ceased working with her. I mean, we would text. Every once in a while, we would have a phone call. She'd always reach out and congratulate me if something was if there was something going on, or she would send me words of encouragement if I was going to do something, or if there was press, but I can't give you an exact number. Did you appreciate the words of encouragement when she sent them to you? I did. Did she come to know your family during the time she was working with you? Not intimately, but yeah, she did. Did you feel over the years that you were working with her before you began filming It Ends With Us, did you feel like you generally had a positive relationship with Stephanie Jones? Yeah. Did you feel that she was generally supportive of you and your career? Yeah. Did you feel like she and Jones Works did good work for you as a publicist? I believe they did. Would you agree that she took you on as a client at a relatively early stage in your career? I'm not sure about that one. She had a lot of big name clients then, right? Yeah. And you were relatively earlier in your career at that point than those big name clients, right? Shapiro, objection. Justin, in comparison, yes, yeah. Shaw, from the time you began working with Stephanie Jones up until you began filming It Ends With Us, did you ever have any issue with her? Can you repeat that question? From the time you began working with Stephanie Jones until the time you began filming It Ends With Us. Uh-huh. Did you ever have any issue with Stephanie Jones? Shapiro, objection. Justin, I don't recall any issues. Like a personal issue? Is that what you mean? Shaw, or professional issue? No. Did you ever have any reason to fire her? Shapiro, objection. Justin, no. I can remember feeling she didn't have much time for me, but I'm also a realist to know that I'm not The Rock or, so I understood that I was a client, but that she was having other people manage me in my career. So there were times where I didn't feel she had time for me and that I was just kind of there, but there was no reason to fire her. No, not at all. Shaw, during the times when you felt she didn't personally have time for you, were there other publicists as Jones Works that did respond on the day-to-day for your issues? Oh, always, yeah. At some point in time, the publicist who was most responsible for the day-to-day on your and Wayfarer's account at Jones Works was Jen Abel. Is that right? Yes. Did you work very closely with Jen Abel over that time? I did. Okay, during the time that Jones Works was your publicist, before the filming of It Ends With Us, did they ever handle any controversies for you or Wayfarer? Any controversies? Would you help me with controversies? Anything you would consider to be a crisis? Nothing that became public, but if there was ever something that I felt like anxious about, yes. Does that include when you were sued in connection with 5 feet apart? Yes. Did you consider that to be a crisis? I felt like it was a crisis, yeah. Did Stephanie Jones help you in connection with that crisis? There was no PR. It wasn't like a big public thing, but I definitely remember calling her and Jen about it, yeah. Did she recommend a lawyer to you for that lawsuit? I don't remember. She might have. Were there times over the course of your relationship with Stephanie between when you first hired her and when you began filming It Ends With Us that you would request a phone call directly with her to deal with an issue? I don't think I ever had to request. I think I would just call her. Like, it wasn't like a formal process. I would just call her. Okay, and would she be responsive? Yeah, she would always call me back if she didn't answer then. Do you recall ever making a comment to her that you'd never got in her voicemail? I remember oftentimes telling Stephanie that she needed to take a break because she was always on and joking with her like, you got kids and like you can only imagine the phone calls and all the people that were she was getting. So I could imagine that I made that comment. Do you recall a time when you introduced her to Colleen Hoover? I think I do actually. What do you recall about that? I didn't until you just brought it up, but I recall learning that Colleen Hoover had done like nail polish or something for the book, and I couldn't believe it and I believe she was getting backlash, which ultimately was terrible for the project we were developing this movie. And I remember asking Colleen if she had anybody that was helping her make decisions and she said no. I said, "I think you need a publicist." And so I introduced her to Stephanie Jones. Because you believe that Stephanie Jones could help her with the publicity issues she was experiencing? I believe that Stephanie could help her in general. I think that to be in the situation that Colleen was in and to not have any support or anyone telling you, like, maybe that's not a good idea, I thought Stephanie could help. And you trusted Stephanie at that time to help, right? Yeah. Do you recall introducing her to Colleen by saying, "This is my friend Stephanie Jones"? I'm sure I did. I considered her a friend. Do you recall telling Colleen that Stephanie was a master publicist? I don't, but I could see myself saying that, yeah. Would that have been accurate in terms of your view at that time? Did you think Stephanie was a master publicist? Yeah. Do you recall a time when you learned that Business Insider was planning to publish a negative story about Stephanie Jones? Yes. When did you learn that? The year or month or as specific as you can give me. I know who I learned it from. Who was that? Stephanie Jones. What did she tell you? She told me, I don't remember the exact words, but she was very upset. And she FaceTimed me crying and she said that you're like trying to ruin her life or something. And she was very emotional. I don't remember exact words. Did you feel for her in that situation? Shapiro, objection. Justin, I did. It was very complicated. Shaw, why was it complicated? Because she was my publicist and I was struggling during that period myself. I didn't have a lot of emotional bandwidth and while I considered her a friend, I think there are different levels of friendship. And that conversation, it felt like I might have not been the best person for her to be FaceTiming with these feelings. Why? Because I was her client. She was meant to be my publicist, and it was the kind of call you might have with a therapist. Did you offer to write her a letter of support to the Business Insider report? After she asked me to, I did. And did you in fact do that? I did. I would like to hand you a document. We're going to mark this as Exhibit 1, please. Shaw, for the record, this is a text thread between you and Stephanie Jones dated July 3rd, 2024. It bears the bait stamps of JonesWorks_JB_ several zeros 1434. Do you see this? Uh-huh. Do you recall this text thread exchange between you and Stephanie Jones? Vaguely, but yes. And you write up at the top. She asked you if you would be open to writing a sentence or two for Business Insider about her and Jones Works. And you respond as read, "Hi, Steph. I'm so sorry you're going through this. I'd be happy to." Do you see that? I do. Were you happy to? Being completely honest, I don't know if I was actually happy to. I think that was what you say, like, I'd be happy to. But you were willing to. Absolutely. And she goes on to describe the types of things that might be appearing in the Business Insider story and the things that the reporters were saying when they were calling her clients. Do you see that? Is this paragraph 2? Paragraph 2 through the end of the page. Okay. And do you see at the bottom where she writes as read, Also, they wouldn't say a man was aggressive or tough or intense. Those are the words they are using when they call clients. Do you see that? I do see that. Flip the page for me. You write, as read, I'm sorry you're going through this. Of course not. It's gendered. Do you see that? I do. What did you mean by it's gendered? I was just, again, I don't remember exactly what I was feeling in this moment. I know I do remember feeling again, like this to me, it made me uncomfortable. I didn't want to tell her that because she was going through so much. It was interesting to be asked by your publicist, whose job is to handle public relations, to make a public statement for your publicist. So I know I felt uncomfortable. And from what I'm reading, she says they wouldn't say a man was aggressive or tough or intense. So I think I was agreeing with her, trying to make her feel seen by saying, of course not, it's gendered. So I was under the impression that what she was saying was that the words we use to describe men are not used in the same way to describe women. So I'm assuming what I meant when I said it's gendered. And that the words being used to describe women, like those that she wrote here, are used negatively, whereas they would not be used negatively as against male professionals. Is that what you understand she was saying? Shapiro, objection, objection. Justin, I believe that's what she was saying. I'm just not sure I fully agree, but I believe that's what she was saying. Shaw, do you not agree with that? Shapiro, objection. Justin, I think that a man being called aggressive, tough, or intense would also be considered a negative statement. Do you think that this press would write articles about a male CEO being aggressive or intense or tough? Shapiro, objection. The same way they would about a female CEO? Shapiro, objection. Justin, I don't believe we can make an absolute statement like that because I've definitely read things where press would say a man was aggressive or tough or intense in a negative way. Shaw, do you believe that the press is more apt to write negative articles about a female CEO being aggressive or tough than they are about a male CEO being aggressive or tough? Shapiro, objection. Justin, I want to help you here. I just don't know if we want to debate about gender because I'm not an expert in like how many articles are written from a male or female perspective. I know that I've seen many articles putting down male leaders by using aggressive or tough or intense. And I also know that there are much more male CEOs than female CEOs. So again, I'm not a gender studies major, so I couldn't give you, but what I can say is that oftentimes when a woman we'll say tough, that I think maybe people aren't as used to it because oftentimes men have been in positions of power. I don't know if that's helpful to you at all. Shaw, are we debating whether or not the press is more apt to write negative articles about a female CEO being aggressive or tough than they are to write articles about male CEOs being aggressive or tough? Shapiro, objection. Justin, I think I've forgotten what we're debating, to be honest with you. Shaw, do you think we're debating anything? Shapiro, objection. Justin, I'm not even sure what your original question was. Shaw, you used the word gendered. What do you mean by that? Justin, you mean what did I mean when I wrote it? What do you understand the word gender to mean generally? Something that would be encapsulated by one's gender? Maybe a behavior that is used in one way for one gender and another way for another? Is that what you meant when you used it here? When I used it here, I was agreeing with Stephanie Jones because it appears to me that she was needing to vent and share that they are calling her aggressive or tough or intense. And she says here they wouldn't say a man was aggressive or tough or intense. So I'm just trying to make her feel better. Again, I can't remember exactly what I was feeling, but it looked to me like I'm saying, yeah, of course not, it's gendered. Did you find her to be aggressive or tough or intense? There were times I called her mama bear because of her aggression, which I said endearingly, but I didn't know the Stephanie that she was inferring people or accusing her to be. You had not experienced these kinds of things from her yourself. Shapiro, objection, objection. Justin, no, I hadn't. Shaw, did you read the Business Insider article? No. You never read it? No. You don't have a view one way or another as to whether it was fair or unfair. I never read it, so I couldn't. Okay. I'm going to hand you another document. Stenographer, reporter, I will take that. Shapiro, what was the exhibit number? Shaw, this is exhibit 2. The one you have is exhibit 1. Shapiro, okay. Shaw, this is going to be exhibit 2, so we're going to mark for the record exhibit 2. Exhibit 2 marked for identification. Justin, thanks. Shaw, which is a document. It's a text thread between you and Jamie Heath and Jennifer Abel dated July 3rd, 2024, marked with a Bates stamp, Jonesworks _ several zeros 15478. Do you see that? Uh-huh. This is the same date as the text thread that we were just looking at in Exhibit 1. Uh-huh. Do you recall this text thread? Yes, I do. And in this text thread, you were working through with Jen Abel and Jamie Heath the content of the statement you're going to provide to Business Insider in support of Stephanie. Is that right? Can I refresh my memory for a second and just read it? Please review it. Friedman, please read the entire document. Justin, thank you. Shaw, Turn for me to the page that ends in the Bates stamp 15480, please. You will see a text from you at the top. It's marked 8:10 p.m. where you say, as read, how's this, Jamie? I made a little more me. Is this too much? And then you draft or paste the draft statement below. Do you see that? Uh-huh. Okay, in that statement you write, Stephanie has always been an exceptional publicist and member of my brain trust, not just for me personally, but also for my company, Wayfarer Studios. Do you see that? Uh-huh. Was that an accurate statement at the time you wrote it? Yeah. I think it's, to be truly fair, it's a bit of an exaggeration, but still true. Are you in the habit of providing press with statements that are exaggerated? Shapiro, objection. I would not call it a habit. I was just helping a friend. Shaw, to help yourself or a friend, do you think you would provide the press with statements that were exaggerated from the truth? Shapiro, objection. Justin, I don't think I've provided any statements of like myself. This was a very rare thing for me. Shaw, in this case, did you provide the press a statement that was exaggerated from the truth? Brain trust, looking back, feels, no, I would say that that's okay, actually. Do you? Because I did call on her from time to time. So I would say that I think it's fine. Do you think it's accurate? At the time, I do think it's accurate. Okay, yeah. Then you go on to say, as read, she's an incredibly hard worker and she finds a way to be available at all hours of the day and has gone above and beyond to ensure the success of not just me, but my company. Do you see that? I do. Was that a true statement at the time? I believe so. Okay, then you write as read, she has built an amazing team who I also work very closely with, and I have never had a moment of hesitation in trusting her. Do you see that? Yes. Was that a true statement at the time? It was. And then you go on to write as read, her advice and guidance has always been spot on. I have never personally witnessed her mistreat anyone, and on the contrary, she has always treated me and my team with the utmost respect, like family. Do you see that? I do. Was that an accurate statement at the time? It was. And this, in sum and substance, is similar to the statement that you ultimately did provide to Katie Warren, who was a reporter at Business Insider, right? I would assume so. Okay, can you pull tab 33, please? Exhibit 3 marked for identification. Are we done with this one? Yes, you got it. This is going to be marked as Exhibit 3. It's an email from you to Katie Warren, and then from Katie Warren to you. Uh-huh. Dated July 3rd, 2024 and July 4th, 2024, that bears the Bates stamp Jonesworks _JB _ several 0651. Do you see that? Uh-huh. Do you remember sending this email to Katie Warren? I believe I do. Do you remember her email back to you? I believe I do. All right, and if you read the statement that you sent to Katie Warren, is there anything untrue in the statement? Do you mind if I just read it? Please do. Anything untrue in that statement? No. Okay, then Katie Warren responds as read, thank you so much for sending this. Are you free for a quick call sometime today or tomorrow? Do you see that? I do. Did you ever have a call with Katie Warren? I did not. Did you ever respond to this email? I did not. Okay, did you ever, other than the text thread that we looked at a moment ago in Exhibit 2 between you and Jen Abel and Jamie Heath, did you ever have a phone conversation with Jen Abel about the topic of the Business Insider story? I believe I did. More than one? I don't think so. What do you recall about that phone conversation? I believe Jamie Heath was on the call too. I don't think there was ever a one-on-one call. Okay, what do you recall about that conversation? I recall telling them both I felt uncomfortable being asked to email a reporter directly when I was in the middle of, I was going through a lot. And I remember Jamie being also effusive about and saying that and agreeing that we should. I wanted to, but I just wasn't, it was just an uncomfortable position to be in because she was my publicist and she was asking me to make a statement for her. And I just remember feeling weird about it. I remember Jen saying how much it would mean to Stephanie if I did it. And also I remember Jen kind of acting more like a publicist in the situation and saying, and yet if you're not comfortable, you don't have to, but she would really appreciate it if you did. So Jen was kind of serving as like as my publicist in the moment because Stephanie in that moment was kind of reaching out outside of a publicist more like, hey, I'm in crisis, I need help. And then ultimately I decided to do it for her. So you expressed to Jen Abel that this made you a little bit uncomfortable. Jamie Heath and Jen Abel, yeah. But you never expressed that directly to Stephanie Jones, did you? No, I didn't. And Jen Abel told you on that call, if you don't want to do this, you don't have to, in sum or substance, right? No, she said, only do what you're comfortable with, basically. Again, I don't remember the exact words, but she was leaning more towards it would be really helpful for Stephanie. And also, I think she understood that somebody needed to say to me, like, don't feel pressured. Like, there's other people also giving statements. You understood that there were other clients giving statements in support of Stephanie Jones for the article. Stephanie texted me that others were. Okay, did your statement ultimately appear in the Business Insider article? As I said, I never read it. I don't know. Did there come a time when Jen Abel suggested to you or Jamie Heath that you should withdraw your statement from Katie Warren? Not that I recall. You were never told that there came a time when Jen Abel suggested to Jamie Heath that you should pull back the statement that you sent to Katie Warren? I have no memory of that. Is that something that you would have expected Jamie Heath to tell you at the time? Shapiro, objection. Justin, if that happened, I would assume he would. Shaw, but you have no memory of ever being told that. No, almost the opposite. Do you know if a decision was ever made by Jamie Heath to keep the statement or to withdraw it? Shapiro, objection. Justin, no, I sent the statement, so I assumed it ended up in the article, or it didn't. I don't know. Okay, if Jen Abel thought at any point in time that maybe you should withdraw the statement that you sent, would you have expected her to raise that directly with you? Shapiro, objection. Justin, thinking about that period, no. Jamie was handling a lot of conversations. I think I was finishing, I don't remember what month this was, but I imagine I was finishing or working on the movie, and I oftentimes didn't want to be part of most conversations. Did you generally defer to Jamie Heath to make decisions like this? Yes. Did you generally defer to him? I'm sorry, I need to go back. Decisions like what? For example, like whether or not you should pull a statement in support of Stephanie Jones that you had already sent to a reporter. Shapiro, objection. Justin, like I said, I wasn't aware of any of that. I wasn't aware that I was ever going to pull a statement. Okay, did you generally defer to Jamie Heath to make decisions around an interface with publicity matters with your publicity team? Yeah, yes. Okay, in the period around July, August, September of 2024, when there was quite a bit of press activity around you in the film, did you generally defer to Jamie Heath to handle that with your publicist without you? Shapiro, objection. Justin, I think everybody knew at that time that I was going through a lot and that I trusted Jamie to always do what was right. And so, yeah, I don't think people were coming directly to me at that time for anything. Do you think it's important to be personally involved in decisions like that? Shapiro, objection. Justin, decisions like what? Like what is happening around the publicity of what you might term a crisis in connection with your making of It Ends With Us. Shapiro, objection. Justin, well, I remember being involved. I don't think I said I wasn't involved. Shaw, do you remember? If if I did, then I misspoke. Do you remember making decisions in connection with that? Shapiro, objection. Justin, I think you need to be more specific on what decisions are. Any decisions. Did you feel like a decision maker or did you feel like someone else was a decision maker? Shapiro, objection. Justin, I can't remember many decisions needing to be made at that time, but I know I was doing press in a very difficult period. So I think that there were definitely things that related to maybe business or high level things that I wasn't involved with, nor did I want to be. Do you think it would have been weird to retract a statement of support that you had previously sent to a reporter? Shapiro, objection. Justin, I think weird is a. Do you want me? Do you want to maybe ask me with a different word? Shaw, would you have been surprised to learn that Jen Abel asked Jamie to retract the statement of support that you sent for Stephanie Jones to the Business Insider reporter? I would be surprised because I don't think or know if she did. Can you pull tab 55, please? We're going to mark as Exhibit 4 a text conversation between Jen Abel and Jamie Heath dated August 9th, 2024 that bears the bait stamp Jonesworks _ several zeros 16169, Exhibit 4 marked for identification. Can you read through this for me, please? Okay. Have you ever seen this before? I have not. Were you aware before you just looked at this that this conversation took place? Nope. Do you recall events surrounding a Daily Mail article that was published on the topic of tensions between you and Blake Lively on August 8th, 2024? I don't remember the specifics of it, but I definitely remember there were articles coming out at that time. And do you remember a big issue around whether or not Stephanie Jones had ever spoken to Daily Mail around that time? August 8th. Yes, I do. Okay, you can see here that Jen texts Jamie a Daily Mail article that says, at least in this version of the web link, it ends Blake Lively, Justin Baldoni feud, right? That is what it says. Okay, and this is right around the time the articles started appearing in the Daily Mail that were kind of first publicizing this alleged feud in traditional media, right? I don't know, but I will take your word for it. I don't know if Daily Mail was the first one or I remember there was a lot of things happening during that period. And that was a big deal, right? When the press started picking up on this alleged feud between you and Blake? Yeah. It was the reason you brought on crisis communications. Because can you ask that question again? Because the press had started picking up and reporting on an alleged feud between you and Blake. because press was talking about it. Yeah, and it was becoming a public crisis. Okay, and then right after Jen sends Jamie that article, she says, as read, just thought about something. Should I try to get Justin's letter removed from Business Insider? Do you see that? I do. Okay, I would need to tell her on background that both Justin and Wayfarer have severed ties. Do you see that? I do. Had Justin and Wayfarer severed ties with Jonesworks at this point? I have no idea. On August 9th? I don't know. Do you have any idea why Jen Abel would be suggesting to Jamie that you leak on background that Justin and Wayfarer have severed ties with Jonesworks? Shapiro, objection. Justin, I remember Jamie sending a text message that he just told me about to Stephanie, basically saying, stop, don't make any phone calls, and that if she continued, that we would be leaving. But I don't remember the date of that. I don't remember where this is in that timeline. I would need to see. So I don't know if at this point he had already told her that we were leaving, or yeah, I just don't know. Jen Abel still worked for Jonesworks at this point, right? To my knowledge, yes. Shaw, was Jen Abel read in on the issue of you and Wayfarer potentially severing ties with Jonesworks by this point? Shapiro, objection. Justin, by read in, Shaw, was she aware of it? Was she aware of it? I wasn't privy to any of those conversations, so I don't know. Okay, Jen Abel goes on to say, as read, not sure if your lawyers would recommend that, as she would need to print that, and not sure if that would cause any issues. Do you see that? I do. Do you have any idea what that's about? I shouldn't assume, but I imagine it's our lawyers at Wayfarer Studios, our business affairs. But why would it cause issues if a reporter were to print that Wayfarer and you had severed ties with Jonesworks at this point? I can't speculate. I'm not part of any of this. You see, Jamie Heath writes Grammy Award winner in quotes and then writes dummy. Do you see that? Yes. Is Jonesworks a Grammy Award winning publicist? I didn't know publicists could win Grammys. I didn't either, but I'm asking you. Jamie's a Grammy Award winner, so, and he always says dummy. Like, that's a joke. Like, he always says we call each other dummy. So I think maybe I'm just guessing he was quoting the way someone described him because he had won a Grammy at one point in a previous career. Okay. But I don't know. Okay. I wasn't on this text chain. Did you know that at that time that Jen Abel was speaking to Katie Warren, the reporter at Business Insider? Until you said Katie Warren, I didn't know even who she was, so no. Well, you sent your statement in support of Steph to Katie Warren, right? Yeah, but I didn't know what her name was. Okay, did you have any knowledge around this time that Jen Abel was personally speaking to the reporters at Business Insider about the article that came out about Steph? No. Okay, did you have any knowledge at that time that Melissa Nathan was behind the article at Business Insider that came out about Steph? Shapira, objection. Justin, what do you mean behind? Shaw, was a primary driving force behind getting it published and its negative slant. Shapiro, objection. Justin, no. Shaw, do you know that today? Shapiro, objection. Justin, are you telling me that? Shaw, I'm asking you if you're aware of that. No. Okay, have you ever heard that before? Shapiro, object. Justin, that she wrote the article? Shaw, that she planted the article? No. Because she was angry at Steph? I'm sorry, Melissa was angry at Steph? Correct. So she planted the article? Yes. No, I didn't know Melissa at this time. At the time you heard Melissa, did you have any inkling that she was behind the negative article in Business Insider about Steph? Shapiro, objection. Justin, I just learned about it from you, so no. Shaw, okay, is that something you would have wanted to know before you hired her? Shapiro, objection. Justin, hold on. Would I have wanted to know that the PR person that I was hiring to handle a crisis had evidently, according to you, not that I don't trust you, written an article about my, at that time, current PR person? I would, yeah, yes. Okay, sorry, that was a lot. You listened in on part of Melissa Nathan's deposition, right? Parts. Did you listen in on the part where she and I were discussing her participation in the Business Insider article against Steph? I believe I only listened in for the end of one of the days, and I don't believe it was with you. I don't. But to answer your question, no. Shapiro, do you want to take a break? In a couple of minutes, we can. Shapiro, okay. You've been holding it for long. Shaw, we can go ahead. Let me just ask one last question or two last questions, and then we can go ahead and take a lunch break. Sure. You said you recalled a point in time when an issue arose about Stephanie Jones potentially contacting the Daily Mail in this early August time period, and that causing a big issue, right? Shapiro, objection. Justin, I remember that. I remember, yes. Shaw. Okay, up until that point in time, did you feel you still had a friendly relationship with Stephanie Jones? Friendly? Yeah. Up until that point in time, did you have any reason to take any issue with anything that Stephanie Jones had done or was doing on your behalf? Objection. Yeah. Yes. What? I remember feeling, especially as it related to the Business Insider article, the phone calls I had with her, I remember feeling like she wasn't personally my personal, not as an expert or anything like that. I just remember feeling personally like she seemed off and maybe wasn't of sound mind. What do you mean when you say wasn't of sound mind? I remember feeling that she was more worried about her own reputation than what I believed to be her work as a publicist, and I would say taking care of ours. Do you think there is something unsound of mind to be worried about your own reputation as a publicist more than your clients' reputations? Shapiro, objection. Justin, no, it was more in the conversations I had with her, she felt different than previous conversations. Her speech at times was a bit erratic. She was like bouncing back and forth between things. It just felt like any person, when you have a relationship with someone and they appear different than they had the last few years of knowing them, then that's what made me not sure. Not sure if she was of sound mind. Not sure if I felt. Let me put it this way. At that point in time, I was grateful that she was not the lead to represent me personally. Who did you think was the lead to represent you personally? The person who had been for the last 4 years or so, or 3 years. Who was that? Jennifer Abel. Okay, do you think that in time, since these lawsuits were filed against you, that you had behaved to anyone differently than you did before? Shapira, objection. Justin, yes. Do you think the stress of having this kind of public negative spotlight on you has caused that? Shapira, objection. Justin, yes. Shaw, do you find it distressing to have negative public articles being written about you? I do. Are you aware of any smear websites or social media accounts that were being published about Stephanie Jones in 2024? Shapira, objection. No. Justin, no. Shaw, you're not aware of that at all? No. Okay, you are aware of a very negative. Sorry, are you saying, was I aware or am I aware? Were you aware at that time? No. I mean, I am aware that there was a website that's become a whole, right, I think a part of this case, but I was not aware then. Okay, you weren't aware at the time that you were having these conversations with Stephanie Jones where you have called into question her mental state, that she was dealing with websites and social media handles under the captions of things like Stephanie Jones leaks and Stephanie Jones lies, that they were peddling a bunch of defamatory, highly negative statements about her. Shapiro, objection. Justin, I wasn't aware of any of that. Shaw, okay, you were aware of a Business Insider article that was being written about her that was highly negative, right? Shapiro, objection. Justin, again, I don't know what was in it or if it was highly negative, but I know that it upset her a lot. Shaw, okay, as someone who now yourself has experienced very negative public media attention, can you understand how her experiencing very negative public, unwarranted media attention might have been distressing to her at that time? Shapiro, objection. Justin, may I answer without a yes or no? Shaw, you can answer in whatever way you think is best. If I had a relationship with my doctor who was going to perform surgery on me for the last 5 years, and I went in to meet him before surgery and he started acting strange, and then I found out that he was being attacked and he had a lot of personal drama. Maybe he was going through a divorce. I wouldn't want him to operate on me because I'm paying him for his services. So while I understand, especially the way you're phrasing it now, how emotionally disturbing it was for Stephanie, she was my publicist and I was paying her for her services. And for me, having been through what I've been through the last year, it's the reason why I wouldn't take on any jobs because I wouldn't be of sound mind to do my job to the best of my ability while dealing with that stress. Are you of sound mind to do your job to the best of your ability to this date? Shapiro, objection. Justin, I don't think I understand your question. Shaw, you said you wouldn't be of sound mind to do your job to the best of your ability in the circumstances of what you've been through. Do I understand that? Yes, we just need to define job and then I can agree with you. Well, I'm just using your words. Yeah, so job. So what I was meaning by job is if I'm being paid for services. Okay, and that's the reason that you haven't taken on any jobs since this lawsuit has been pending. Shapiro, objection. Justin, no, there's not many jobs being offered to me at the moment. Shaw, do you feel you're of sound mind? Shapiro, objection. Justin, when? Shaw, now. I don't believe I'm doing a job. I'm just telling the truth, so yes, I do. Did you ever express to Stephanie Jones at that time these sentiments that you're expressing to me now about her mental state or fitness to do her job for you as a publicist? It was my feeling that that would have been, in my opinion, unnecessary and would have caused her more pain. Is that a no? Shapiro, objection. Justin, that is a no. Shaw, you didn't fire her at that time because of the sentiments that you're expressing to me now. Is that right? I didn't personally fire her, no. And Wayfarer did not fire her either as a result of the sentiments you're expressing to me now. Is that right? Shapiro, objection. Justin, no, because Jennifer Abel was our main point of contact, my publicist. Shaw, okay, thank you. Thank you. Okay, thank you. We can take a lunch now. The videographer, we are going off the record. The time is 12:31 p.m. Lunch recess. We're back on the record. The time is 1:24 p.m. All right, see you in part 3.